Good day, YouTube. This is Jay Money with Falling Forward Financial. Just come across this article. I've talked about EVs here on the channel quite a bit. Charging stations and all kinds of things in regards to EVs, whether it be EVs themselves, Tesla, Neo, Xpeng, all that, or the charging stations. I've talked about Plug Power, F-Cell, a couple other ones, and also lithium. But come across this article, looked kind of interesting, and so I thought I'd do a video on it and just kind of see what response I get from it. White House unveils a $5 billion plan to blanket U.S. highways with new electric car chargers. And as you can see, this was just released an hour ago. Here's a charging station. Can't really tell. Looks like a Tesla. That might be a Chevy. It's too small here on my computer without blowing it up to see exactly what they are, but it's not really relevant to what we're going to go over here. So, but anyway, the U.S. government is starting to make good on Biden's promise for 500,000 public electric car chargers. So maybe this will propel some of those charging stations here between now and whenever this goes in play. So I thought it was really interesting. I've already talked about some of those here on the channel, but seeing articles like this just gives it a little bit more positive feel and hope for the future. So, but a lot of these is a long-term hold for me. So like lithium charging stations, EVs, and so on. The government will give nearly $5 billion to help states build out their charging infrastructure. The plan aims to beef up charging access along with interstate highways. Right now, one of the glaring reasons not to own an electric car is the charging. Gas stations are a dime a dozen, but charging plugs in much of the country are few and far between. That may not be the case for Biden's plan comes to fruition. U.S. Departments of Energy and Transportation announced on Thursday they will dole out nearly $5 billion over the next 5 years to help states beef up access to electric vehicle charging. So over the next 5 years, I was just going to say a lot of these EVs are at least a 2 to 5 year hold for myself. So, and this just kind of solidifies it, $5 billion over the next 5 years. So I feel between now and 2010, you're going to get the, if you hold them and hold them long enough, you're going to get the biggest appreciation on those stocks. So Biden aims for the U.S. to have 500,000 public EV chargers by 2030, roughly 400,000 more plugs than are available today. So that's quite a difference. We've known funding for EV charging was coming since the bipartisan infrastructure law passed in November, but the administration on Thursday shared new details about how the money will be spent. States will have until August to submit proposals for how they'd spend their share based on guidance published on Thursday. Initially, states will need to focus on improving charging among alternative fuel corridors, interstate highways that the DOT said will serve the spine of the new national EV charging network. The administration expects that states will leave installation and upkeep to private companies. And so should be interesting between now and the next 5 years to kind of see how all this plays out and what the stocks do. But now in regards to this article, not that I give tax, legal, or trading advice, but definitely would show a buying opportunity on a lot of these. So that's just how I look at it. So once the state's corridors are fully built out, it will be able to apply for funding to place charging stations in other public places like transit stations, schools, and parking lots. The administration will consider a highway built out once it has a series of charging stations no more than 50 miles apart. So that's fairly decent considering the Average EV is anywhere from 300 to 500 miles, so that would definitely help out. So it'd be just like a typical gas station. We'll need to have at least 4 DC fast charging plugs capable of providing 150 kilowatts of energy each. And if you think about that, that's gonna, Tesla in itself, where it's EV, solar, a lot of these are going to have probably solar panels to help provide some of this energy. And that's just a thought, just me speculating, looking at the big picture. A fast charging plug of that caliber should be able to top up to a modern electric car in approximately 30 to 45 minutes. And so if that's also the case, you might see some of these bigger like rest stops, truck stops, things of that sort. They already have like restaurants and things of that type in them, so you can spend that 30 to 45 minutes. Otherwise, there could be like tables with Wi-Fi connectors, or so you could work, or I'm just speculating again, trying to think what I would do in that 30 to 45 minutes. Much more quickly than home charging installation. Each state's plans will also need to consider how to equitably distribute charging infrastructure. In the first year of the program, $615 million will be available to the states. The investment comes as the global auto industry incentivized by tightening emissions regulations, and the blockbuster success of Tesla works feverishly to transition toward building and selling zero-emission vehicles. Car companies plan to unleash a flood of new electric models onto the market in the coming years as the electric cars, once playthings for the wealthy, become cheaper and enter the mainstream. Ford's F-150 Lightning, a $40,000 electric pickup, is set to hit the streets in the spring. Chevrolet will start selling a 30,000 battery-powered SUV next year. So they're all competition is good. So I was just going to say Tesla had plans for a $25,000 sedan. I need to research that again and see if there's any more plans on that. If you have any more ideas on that, or know when that's going to be released, you can leave that in the comments. So lack of public charging station is keeping people from giving up their gas drinking vehicles. And I also heard, just yesterday I read where oil could become $100 to $120 per barrel this June, so be prepared for that. So, a recent University of California Davis survey, EV owners in California found that 1 in 5 switched back to gas car because of charging was way too much of a hassle. In 2021, EV market share in the United States grew to 3.5%. Officials would not offer specifics about how many chargers the $5 billion program would yield, or when the first locations would open to the public. They called a down payment on the 500,000 charger goal. The bipartisan infrastructure law also provides $2.5 billion for a separate grant program to address EV charging in rural and disadvantaged communities, along with poor air quality areas. So could be a very interesting next 5 years in regards to all this, and see what it does to the charging station stocks as well as the EVs themselves. But here kind of gives you a good idea. Just like I said, there's going to be solar panels, and so a totally different feel. A lot of stations that I see have a big canopy over them, so they're probably just going to apply solar panels on the top, so it shouldn't be too difficult. But any feedback on this would be a definite help, and but like I said, any comments would be definite. Just keep them slightly positive. Negative ones are welcome too, but and if there's any other EV stocks that you want me to cover, or you can just list your favorite and your favorite charging station, or if there's any new charging stations that I have not talked about. I'll try to link what I have talked about in the description, and any solar stocks as well. So I've talked about solar numerous times here on the channel as well. So, but that's it that I have on this one, and just kind of a different feel and different article, but thought it would be interesting to go over it. So, and if you haven't smashed that like button yet, go ahead and hit that for me, as well as subscribing and hit the bell so you're notified of when the next videos drop. Again, this is J Money, Falling Forward Financial. Happy trading, happy investing, stay green. Cheers.